Well, thank you guys for joining us at this Anna Bros Creative Podcast. We are reviewing the live-action movie of Blade of the Immortal. Originally manga, of course, and then it is Takashi Miike's 100th film. Joining me is Stacy, Jason, and I am Josh. Laven was scheduled to be here, but he is not. He's been delayed by something, and I'm sure he'll have a terrible excuse later on about that.
Yes.
This is Takashi Miike's 100th film. If you're not familiar with his works, he tends to do very violent and very odd movies. I think most people are familiar with is going to be Ichi the Killer, which features a guy jacking off while he watches a girl undress, and then he kills people. He gives it all away in the title.
There was also Audition, which was another creepy, violent type of movie that many years later, after seeing it, I can still remember the girl going like, kitty, 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 and she was cutting a guy with piano wire.
Well, you gotta keep the guy from escaping. It's kind of, what was that, the American one where the author gets his legs broken? Misery. In Misery, the famed novelist Paul Sheldon is in a car accident, and then this person finds him as a big fan. I mean, Family Guy did a thing with this with Brian. Anyways, to keep the guy from escaping, she breaks his legs, puts a block of wood between the legs, and hits him with a sledgehammer. In addition, getting back to the point, they take piano wire and wrap it around as she slowly slices through his feet. She also kills his dog. Spoilers.
Spoilers for movies that came out in the late 90s or early 2000s. Sorry, guys.
No, we're not.
We're not actually sorry. We have no regrets.
I mean, there's 100 films. Isn't there like Full Metal Jacket, Yakuza?
Oh, yes. I was just looking through the list of some of his other ones and just seeing titles like, Full Metal Yakuza. He also did a live-action JoJo's Bizarre Adventure movie recently, which we have not seen yet. Maybe
Has that been released? Well,
it's been released in Japan, it looks like, but probably not here.
Anyways, I would seek him out. He does have very interesting movies. Of course, the one we were talking about today is his 100th film, Blade of the Immortal. If you guys have not seen or heard anything about this storyline, manga and live action movie, it is pretty basic description. Cursed with immortality, a highly skilled samurai in feudal Japan promises to help a young woman avenge the death of her parents. Their mission leads them into a bloody battle with a ruthless warrior and his band of master swordsmen. So, like I said, pretty generic and Japanese revenge flick. This with a few changes, namely he's immortal, and he has a blade or 2 or 18. I don't think they ever gave a distinct number of blades he has, or where he keeps them.
Yeah,
Hammer space.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that later.
Yes, and the manga was originally published between 1993 to 2012, so it was quite a long-running series, so obviously the movie did not adapt the complete story, but while none of us have actually read the manga, we do have some points of differences from that story.
Well, yeah, because a lot of Japanese adaptations of manga kind of have the same pros and cons, regardless of which ones they are. They don't always vary it up on that. So, Jason, what was your highlights of this film?
He seemed to have access to hammer space. Those that don't know what that is, Deadpool has this ability as well, if you've seen that movie. He basically pull anything out of anywhere, although most of it seems to come out of his kimono. Is that what he's wearing?
Yeah, the kimono sleeves, and he's just like...
He just kind of flicks his wrists and magically a giant hammer appears. Or blades or giant shuriken or whatever, and stuff that clearly you wouldn't be able to run with if everything was hidden in there.
Well, I think what it's doing is it's showing that because each blade, I think, is somebody he's taken from a guy he's killed.
Okay.
I mean, the film starts off with him killing 100 guys.
Yeah.
All because they kidnap his sister. One of the blades he uses throughout the rest of the film is the guy who kidnaps his sister.
Right.
And that's one of those issues, just to bring that up, because we're probably going to address it a couple of times, where when you adapt from a long-running manga, you said, how long did it go for?
Yeah, from 93 to 2012. I mean, there could have been hiatuses or whatever. I mean, there's things like Berserk that have been running that long, but they take so many hiatuses that it's not really that long for the amount of time it's been
then it should put like, it ran from here to here, and then here to here.
Yeah.
But either way, any long story... Because I'm sure you'll find more of the stories of each of those swords that he has collected, each of those weapons, which I think itself would be interesting, and so it might make the manga worthwhile a look.
Right.
But he is immortal, and so this takes place, at least the movie takes place, 50 years after he kills 100 guys. He is, of course, mortally wounded in the process, and a old mysterious lady puts some Chinese bugs in him.
Yes.
Worms. Bloodworms.
Bloodworms.
Yeah. To, in effect, make him immortal. Yeah.
Which also seem to infect or affect his clothing. Because since he's a male protagonist, his clothing doesn't disappear. It gets cut, but then it magically is back to normal the next scene.
Boo.
Well, I don't think Takashi Miike has ever really been one for...
Fan service?
Yeah, like major fan service type thing. And it's Japan, so they're not going to do major fan service to the female audience.
Well, I do have... there kind of was. I mean... The main villain was quite nice looking, I would say. So that is fan service for me.
That's eye candy, fan service.
I suppose so. But
yeah. If him and Manji do the Kabudon, which is you push one up against the wall and press your face close, that would be fan service for the ladies.
True.
Yeah, we didn't get anything like that.
Yes.
So just being attractive, I don't think is fan service.
Well, I guess having the be shonen or pretty boy type villain though does seem to have somewhat of something for the ladies in the audience to enjoy, which I did.
Clothing magically mends itself, although even though he has immortality, he doesn't really seem to get healed to 100%. As the story progresses, he noticeably starts having kind of a limp or is not able to move around as much. And it seems like Witch Baba or whatever her name was?
Yao Bikuni.
Who's comes out and is wearing the white mage outfit from Final Fantasy. Really, it just seems like it grants him auto regen, but it only really seems to heal him to 80%.
Well, I think it's kind of addressed in the film, and it is something that is in the manga as well. One of the people he fights, this is going to be a spoiler, also has the bloodworms, and also is aware of a bloodworm poison, which gets applied pretty early on. So I think that's part of why he never seems to fully heal throughout, because they're weakened and they take longer to do so.
Unless you feed him sake.
Yeah, sake does help him out. I think one thing with the bloodworms, I mean, when you're like a not immortal guy, he still killed 100 guys. Now, he died after that, but he kills 100 guys in the opening scene. After that, he seems to get lazy and is just like, fine, just stab me, and I'm just going to stab you back.
Yeah.
And that seems to be just his game plan thereafter. So when he does kind of get a little bit more mortal because of the weakening of the bloodworms, he doesn't really seem to have any of his tricks of not getting stabbed.
Yeah, he's constantly, like was mentioned, he takes out 100 mooks or small fry with minimal effort. It's not until the end of the fight when he starts getting limbs hacked off like it's a Monty Python thing. And continues to keep going, but once he becomes immortal, well, I guess after 50, 100 years, I just started getting, you're going to hit me, and then we'll just cut you after. And you see that a little bit with other characters like Wolverine, or other Marvel characters that have a good healing factor.
Well, I think what writers tend to do is you go, okay, he's immortal, so he can take these injuries. Wolverine has this, and Manji even says it. It's like the regeneration does nothing to help with the pain.
Yeah.
But I think when you're just writing it, you don't always think about how terrible it is to get stabbed. So I think even if you were immortal and you could instantly regen, you'd still probably try and avoid doing so.
Yeah.
Unless you're like, if you're fighting like a fast type opponent or something like that, where that's like your only opening. It's pretty of a standard setup. Since time immemorial, you have the fast person and the slow person. The slow person has to wait until the fast person kind of gets in there. And in those situations, which does come up because it's a very stereotypical fight, like a setup fight. There's probably like 6 types. So you'd say you'll find these and stuff like that. One Punch Man. You have Sonic. Right?
Speed of Sound Sonic, yeah.
Speed of Sound Sonic. It's the same thing.
Saitama just kind of sits there or kind of starts matching his speed, but just waits for him.
He just waits for him, and then he comes in and he punches his junk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Done. But he doesn't, like, chase after him, because we're going after the fast person. You don't do that. So it's the same thing that Manji will do, or Wolverine, in that situation. But everything else, you think they would try to avoid being stabbed.
Yeah.
Because it does hurt.
It still does have an effect, because especially here, Manji's healing factor isn't very quick, so it starts to hinder him as the fight progresses.
Mm. So, I mean, we've been talking about a lot about the main character, Manji. I don't think we actually said that was the guy.
Yes.
But the secondary character is Rin, a little girl that reminds him of his sister, who is now deceased. And so, of course, he's like, oh, yeah, I'll reluctantly help because I'm a stoic samurai that's lived too long and seen too much, and I don't want to get involved in other people's lives anymore.
But you remind me of my sister, so I will help you.
Yeah, once again, kind of a stereotypical. I think overall, I would say that the storyline is pretty typical for a samurai revenge story.
You do have the girl is also training to be a swords person because her father ran a... Is it still called a dojo if it's swords? I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Miss N1.
Shut up. I just had a thought.
Okay.
So he runs a swordsman's school.
Well, but I'm going to say, though, is, once again, this is a typical Japanese story. So, while she is the heir to the her father's dojo, is one of his best students, and is set to take over, despite all social norms with that. I mean, we're talking about Rurouni Kenshin. Where I'm talking about Ramen 1/2 with Akane Tendo. At the end of the day, they are still helpless dames that can't do anything. I mean, the whole last battle is just him protecting her, which, he is the Yojimbo, but they also set her up, once again, as a person who's been training with the sword her entire life, is tomboyish, and that's why she's doing this. But at the end of the day, it's still completely ineffectual.
Really, her only ability is fan of knives, and it's a one-shot deal.
And she doesn't even do anything with that. She accidentally injures Manji.
She misses every single time except climax fight, and even then he hits the main character in the back.
Yeah. Now, that's not to say that there's not, like, powerful female characters there. Yeah. You have the love interest of the villain Onotsu, who seems to actually do better at that thing that we were just talking about not getting hit.
Yes.
Because she doesn't get hit in this fight with, a couple hundred, I think more than that. I never got a final kill count on this thing.
There's like thousands of people in this final battlefield. Like it's a Samurai Warriors? No.
Dynasty Warriors?
Yeah, Dynasty Warriors game.
Yeah.
And she mows through everybody, and then the Shogunate guy calls upon the rifle squad, and she jumps up to attack them, and then she's finally hit.
No, actually she is finally hit when they shoot at her love interest,
Onotsu,
and
she goes to protect
and then she protects.
Yeah, so she deliberately gets hit. That's the only time she's actually hit.
Yeah.
And after that, she's like, well, I'm already dead, so she just does a charge at them, and you get a line of people, which are, it's one of those things I was actually really grateful about is they didn't show that the same people were shooting again because they wouldn't be able to reload at that time. They actually had a second line.
Yeah.
So there's at least a little bit of reality. Attention to detail with that one.
Because the movie takes place, was it Reformation era?
No. Before that, because it's still the Tokugawa, because the shogunate. So
it's mid Tokugawa shogunate period.
So like 1700. Yeah, something like that.
Okay. So it's black powder rifles and...
Yeah, well, it's even like matchlock.
Yeah.
Because you just hit a point, when the Tokugawa really shut off Japan, and then you don't really have any major developments. Like, something in 1650 is not going to be that much different than, 1840 even, because there's a shut off. I mean, you can have some minor differences, and I'm sure, the arts and the crafts and all that has developed a bit, but for technology-wise, they didn't work on improving it. Exactly. And that's one of the things with the, Meiji Restoration that they really push for, but that's a side topic. If we were reviewing a Rurouni Kenshin movie, we'd talk about that, because that's really the one you watch for that.
Do you want to talk about?
I think we can talk about Ren. You want to move to?
Oh, yeah.
I guess. Well, I was talking about a bit about the slight disappointment with her character, where she has a sword in her hand, but like in the final battle, she's next to Manji with a sword in her hand, but she's just like cowering and.
It almost seems like it's clear that the actress doesn't really know how to wield the sword, because even though. She's supposed to be somebody who's trained with the sword for 18 years, doesn't really know how to hold it.
I don't think she's 18. I think that's if there was a legal release.
Okay.
Everybody in this film is totally.
I think she was a teenager.
She's probably like 15.
They ever specifically said her age, but
I don't think they did. But I would assume she was younger than that.
She was marriageable age in that time in Japan.
So 12. So it's interesting that you say it. If you look at the beginning, when she's in the dojo, she obviously knows how to wield a sword.
Yeah.
She's confident. Yeah. She's doing the kata. She's actually fighting against excessive students with that. I think, once again, it's not the actress or anything like that. I think it's the direction of given to her to be timid at that thing, so the sword's shaking in her hand. I mean, it's a big difference between being in a dojo and doing sparring. And then actually seeing people kill and stuff like that. However, between those periods is 2 years actually, because she doesn't find Manji until a year after her parents are murdered.
Right.
So she should be a little bit more used to it. It's still a feudal period. It's a period where people are just being murdered. I mean, not the period itself, but in the movie. This stuff is happening. She's trying to track down these killers. So you'd think she would get a little bit more hardened with that. But I don't think she actually ever kills anybody and then leaves that to Manji.
I thought she helped at the very end.
Yes, but not, she still had to be, handheld to that point. Yeah. And that's at the end of the movie. Yeah. I think maybe to protect her innocence and stuff like that. I mean, that's one of Manji's big things to carry through with everything, and protecting her is just that, to protect her not just physically but maybe emotional, touching on the points that you find in a lot of things about once you kill a person you're haunted forever, and it changes you.
Well, they did bring up at the beginning of the movie where he was like, what makes you so right to do this, and she's like, I don't care if this is right or wrong, I just want revenge. And that that kind of comes up later in the movie with the revenge, because then you find out that her family and then the main villain's family, they had their grandfathers had some tiff going on, and so it's it could be seen as he's getting revenge for his family, but she wants revenge for her family, so they're both trying to get revenge basically. So who can be right and wrong if both sides are just trying to right something that was wronged to them.
Well, I think one thing is hers was a lot more personal. She was like this guy, while Onotsu was like, it's the government system.
Yeah.
So he had a little bit more lofty. Not saying that he was right in anything or that she was wrong in anything, but the way they took the revenge was a lot different, because he could have killed her.
Yeah.
He actually specifically forbade her from being killed, which is why you never do that. If you leave a survivor, they will always come back in a couple of years, either fully train themselves or with somebody else over in your plants.
What, Frieza and Vegeta type of thing?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'll leave this kid alive. This could never possibly go wrong in any way.
Yeah, no, never do that. I've said it a couple times. I'll keep saying this as we discuss the film. I found it pretty formulaic. Once you watch enough stuff, you'll be drawing, comparisons with other things you have. I don't think whether the Immortal really breaks any new ground. It's bloody. If you like Quentin Tarantino films, you actually might not like this one because they don't just sit around talking incessantly about inane stuff before they get to the violence. They just get to the violence.
The bodies don't dematerialize like you see in other movies. So towards the beginning fight, 100 guys, as he's killing each one, they all fall over and they all stay laying on the ground. So if you're basically an extra in the movie, you get killed, then you lay down on the ground for about 7 hours while they continue completing the scene. And from there, let's see, what was it? You can clearly see that sometimes they almost trip over the bodies as they're because they continue moving along as he's mowing down people. And you see all the dead bodies lying on the ground in the background the entire time.
Well, in the foreground and around the ground.
And around the river of blood flowing in the middle.
Once again, that was a nice touch. There was a creek running through the village at the end, and it is red. However, the rest of the ground is not. Around the body, there is a pool of blood, but with that much there, and especially if I guess there could be bodies upstream that are really coloring it, but I don't recall how much blood is in a human body, but it's enough more to make
I think it was 2
foot to the grill.
7 pints, 7 quart.
Yeah, something like that.
It has to be more than 7 pints, I think.
I don't know, some weird English measurement.
Just for you, Jen.
Yeah.
We got you, Jen.
One thing with this one, it's violent. People get their limbs hacked off. You don't get a lot of blood spray.
No.
Just here and there. There's a little bit sometimes, but not a lot. That you'd see in a lot of other films. I think any blade is dangerous. We'll talk about swords and stuff like that. But I think in Japanese films, they always try to really emphasize that. That's why you see so many people being dismembered,
right,
and heads cut off, is because of that.
So not quite the Monty Python comedic method, but so maybe a couple steps above that.
Yeah. Well, there is the part where his hand's been he has to cut off his hand because it's been hit with
it's wrapped up.
It's wrapped up like a meat hook type situation, and I don't think he can regenerate limbs.
No, he can't regenerate.
So he has to get it back.
Only reattach.
Yeah. So he has to get it back. So you don't have any comedic situations like he had in the new Deadpool film where he has this little baby hand he's going to masturbate with. That way his penis feels huge in his hand.
Yes. Because there's a part where he cuts his hand off. He finally gets done dealing with the enemies at the time. Starts to walk away, looks down, and is like, "Oh crap!" Walks back up to the tree where it's kind of
it's hooked around
on the ground, around the tree, and fiddles with his hand for a little bit, and then kind of holds his hand up to the stump, and it starts to mend together.
Yeah, well, the worms start fiddling together.
I guess we talked a little bit about the CGI effects. It was fairly well done.
It wasn't jarring.
Some Japanese films, it's like, ugh. You could,
Tokyo Ghoul was a good example of where this...
That one wasn't that bad, but it could have been better.
It could have been better.
Well, for that one, Tokyo Ghoul, you could clearly see that it was CG. This one, they did a good job at... putting enough filters on it so that it looked more realistic. Yeah. No,
I think they did a fairly good job with that one. There's a lot of characters in this one. You have a long-running manga. We already talked about that. You have a lot of secondary characters. Now, one of the problems when we do an adaptation like this is they'll still put all these people in the movie, but unless you've read the manga or watched even like the anime, usually you won't know who these people are. And if you do, I think you might get some disappointment of, oh yeah, there's that character from this one arc. She's really cool. She did all this sort of stuff. There's particularly a girl with like blonde hair in the movie, but then she actually never does anything other than sit in a room or walk into a room.
Yeah. Do a couple lines, complain a little bit, and then cut away.
Exactly. So like I said, it's for people who've already seen the other supplemental or like primary source, if you will,
Yes.
information, and then it's just like, oh yeah, I know that person, I get that reference. Yeah. But if you don't have that background, it's a little wasted.
To put it in a very old example, the X movie from the late 90s was condensing a long-running manga series that had a lot of characters. Like each side of the story had 7 people. So basically, in the movie version, it's like some people just showed up and did a line and then they die. Yeah. Whereas in the manga, it's like they had all these chapters about their story arc and everything.
Well, yeah, and I don't know. I would prefer if they would just cut stuff and make it work in a 2-hour piece, rather than trying to shoehorn every possible thing in. I think. Right. I mean, it's an adaptation. You have to adapt it to your format. You have 2 hours as opposed to 2 decades to go through something. Trim it. You don't have to have all those same guys there. Like if a situation comes up where you need that person, there's like the evil shogunate guy that was there. Yeah, you needed him, so bring him in. But you don't need all of his lackeys could just be generic lackeys, because I think if you're gonna go through the effort of bringing those people back, utilize them more.
Sometimes movies do they make a new character, but they kind of play the role of some of these other characters that existed in the source material.
Exactly,
sometimes that's better than trying to put them all there when they don't have much purpose.
Right. Yeah. In this case, her and her sidekick were basically there only because they were associates or working with the Bone Wolverine guy.
Yeah, the secondary villain. Well, what are the differences in the villains? Anotsu is kind of an evil guy. He's going around murdering people, but he has a higher goal. Where the other guy is just literally a murderer and a rapist. Yeah, because that's his issue with them, is he tries to start raping people. Yeah, and then ultimately hits Rin, because at that point in the film is where she becomes more of just a foil to Manji as opposed to being a character in her own right. So to get him motivated to stop the guy, she has to be hit.
Right. Potentially setting up for another movie, or because they encountered it, they needed a small little side arc to bring in another antagonist, and just to add in a little bit more character development for Rin.
It's been announced that they will be doing a second Blade of the Immortal?
Yes.
Yeah.
When I was looking up notes for today, I saw a trailer for Blade of the Immortal 2.
Search for more money.
But I don't think they had planned on that.
Right.
I think it must have gone pretty well for them to do that, because they didn't really have any loose ends. The secondary villain, we call him Bone Wolverine because he gets his hand cut off and then he strips the flesh back more. I don't understand why, to make a claw out of his
the 2 bones in his arm.
Forearm bones.
Whatever, and he's using to stab people, which you would not do at all. It is crazy. He's crazy. His hair turns white and he blames Manji for it. I don't know. Read the manga. He dies at the end, so it's not like they're using him to set up for the next one,
right?
And that was the bloodiest moment. Movie, I would say.
Yeah, and probably the most jarring of the CGI.
Yes.
Yeah, because I think they went overboard with that with that blood with that one.
We've got. We could talk a little bit more about Witch Baba. But I mean, she kind of
she just shows up and it's like, here's blood, here's bloodworm.
Then she shows up throughout the movie, hey,
as
what's going on,
guiding
guys?
figure or something for a couple of them, because she directs Rin to go find Manji, and then later on she talks to somebody else as well. and just kind of moves the story on to the next arc is usually when she shows up.
Yeah, it's true. The witch, I forget the Japanese name. We keep calling her Baba because of
the name was,
Russia thing.
Was Yao Bikuni.
Yeah, Yao Bikuni. Yeah. She's an interesting character, mostly because they don't explore anything about her. So there's a lot of mystery.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, she serves as you were saying, like the driving
impetus
force
to the plot.
Yeah, to create it. She's the one that turns Manji immortal. She's the one that tells Rin to find Manji. She's the one that tells Manji to get off his ass and
do something because then you can become mortal again.
No. She's like, oh, no, you can choose to be mortal at this point in time and die, and that's it.
Oh.
Or you could suck it up, keep living, and help Rin accomplish her task. I don't know why she chose to help Rin out of probably everybody else that has a grudge in medieval Japan.
For that one, it was more of an overarching thing of, well, she looks like Manji's sister, so that should actually motivate him.
Yeah, but once again, they don't explain her motives.
No.
So what is she doing? In the manga, he's supposed to kill 1,000 evil men to regain his mortality, but that's not stated in the movie. It's something I looked up later. And so you don't know why she's doing stuff. Obviously, with the manga version, he has to kill 1,000 evil men. So she's there as a force of good to eliminate evil men from the world by empowering this guy to go kill him. Of course, if she's that powerful, you think she could also just go around doing it.
Well, if she's a divine figure, then they can't directly interact with the world.
It depends on your version of that. This is Japan. Everything's divine.
Rocco sitting over there, that's divine.
Yeah. But once again, kind of a stereotypical shadowy person that bestows gifts and directs everything but does not take a hand in it. I found the film overall to be stereotypical, not a lot of surprises, but generally I found it to be very enjoyable.
Yeah.
It was well done, I would say. Even if things were expected.
Yeah, it's going into without knowing anything about it. It was a good 2 hours of entertainment.
I think it had pretty good fight choreography, though we did mention a bit earlier. Sometimes he got into they stab him and he stabs them back, but there were scenes where it went a bit beyond that. Like when Manji first encountered I guess she kind of a ninja geisha girl.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the love interest of Anotsu.
Yeah.
Which they had a pretty good fight at the beginning where, she was kind of using the space they were in to do different things while he was still just kind of like trying to hack away at her, but it was kind of interesting.
Brute force method.
Yeah. While she was creating more interesting choreography within that scene by using the buildings and other things.
Yeah, I think the fight with her and then the mass fights. The beginning and the end.
Yeah.
I think those are good. The ones where it's just him fighting people. Good comparison manga / anime / movie would be Rurouni Kenshin, where you have these successful different villains that you're fighting, all the lackeys and the main guy that all have their little interesting quirks.
Right.
But once again, like then in the movie, they don't have time to fully explore it. Jumping back to the Rurouni Kenshin live action movie, they had the guy with the tortoiseshell shield that kind of shows up in the background. And that was probably one of the more interesting fights in the manga itself. But, they just, relegate the guy to the background thing. So, focusing on, like, a couple different fights and making them a lot better. Like, the fight with the Anotsu's love interest, one-sided love interest. That one was really well done. As is, like I said, the two main battles.
Dynasty Warrior fights.
Yeah. Well, and especially the last one because it was actually quite mobile.
Yeah.
Too, that they're moving around.
It basically goes through this entire village, starting at one end, and then they work their way around the main street of the village of 1,000 people.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say another interesting fight was the one against the other Immortal. Because they're both immortal, so they can't use the exact same tactics as they would use when they're fighting someone else who's immortal. So they're both trying to use their immortality to.
Kind of.
Except the other guy, he had been immortal longer.
And he was tired of the shit.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but clearly showed his experience throughout that entire piece. Because he just kind of, it almost seemed like he decimated Manji throughout the whole piece. I mean, he took a couple hits in the beginning, but really just to throw Manji off guard, and then he shows or pops back up and says, "Here, have anti bloodworm venom." And
well, yeah, but then at the end, it's all of them just kind of sitting there like stabbing each other, which would prove to be ineffectual,
right?
So he just kind of gets to a brawl, like rolling around in the dirt, messing up a guy's like food stand.
Yeah.
You know, at least Manji apologized.
Here's a little coin for the damages.
Oh no, he never paid the guy. He just apologized. He's like, "Oh, sorry about that." Yeah, he's a samurai. He's not gonna pay fucking peasants.
Yeah.
That's not how this works.
It is still a class system there, so
yeah, exactly. So to wrap it up, I do say good movie, very enjoyable. Pretty much any adaptation, I will say, watch or read the anime or manga first to really get more out of it. And of course, the manga will probably have more stuff because the anime might also cut stuff out, or they might change stuff. You know, Brotherhood is a great example where the
Full Metal.
With the original anime, the Full Metal one, just kind of went off on their own. Not saying that's a bad thing, because actually that's what I like.
Yeah.
Just, you don't have to do the same story every time. It's more, I think, more with the characters. So it'll be interesting to see where they go in the second film.
Yeah.
Takashi Miike, he has his directing skills down. I mean, 100 films in, he's not going to pull out anything a lot different from probably his 98th and 99th
that works.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So expect blood, expect a little bit of weirdness. It's probably why I was drawn to doing Blade of the Immortal.
I pretty much agree.
Yeah. And with that, sign-offs.
What the fuck's a sign-off?
This has been part of the Annie Bros group.
This is part of the Annie Bros creative. We're hoping to do more reviews on live action, or actually just any movie that comes out.
Yep.
I mean, that's one of the best things about right now is that these things come to theaters near you. Yep. Where back in my day, to really age myself, this would never happen. We waited like 3 years for Spriggan the movie, and you guys probably have never even heard of Spriggan the movie, to come out before we could watch it on VHS tape. Now, what's that? Now it's going to be like, oh, it's just showing at the Regal Cinemas. Let's go watch this. Like I said, this is the first one of many reviews. We also might go back and review some ones that had come out. I think we mentioned Tokyo Ghoul, we mentioned Rurouni Kenshin. Yeah. And I'm sure we can get some of the actual Annie Bros people to come in and do a review of Shin Godzilla.
Yes.
Yeah, we could. I think that's coming out in DVD format, or has.
Probably has.
Probably has.
We need to form a committee on that one.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Let's have a meeting so then we can form a committee to decide who will be in the next meeting.
No, to decide if there is actually in the DVD version.
Yes.
And then you do one there.
Yeah, to decide who's going to do the research to determine if the DVD is there.
Yes. So
it should be done in 4 to 6 months.
Yeah.
Yes, probably the way we do this. So, anyways, hope you guys enjoyed listening to this, and please leave us comments below. Can they do that?
I don't know. Cut this if it's wrong, Jack.
We should have a comment thing back there. And then we should probably
like, comment, subscribe.
Thanks, Zaxel.
And we're off.